Welcome to Sutures and Cents, where Surgiflow meets soft cost and Tegaderm meets top line revenue. I'm Mark Copeland, the Value Analysis Whisperer. Ryan Pistone is our producer director and does everything that we do well. He's in charge of. And we are talking business to clinical and clinical to business. So, your clinical champion is a rounding error. I'm going to repeat that. Your clinical champion is a rounding error. Let me explain. Your clinical champion brings in revenue to his or her employer. About 3 out of 4 doctors today are employed by a health system, but it doesn't really matter. Both of them, regardless of who their employer is, independent practice, or if it's a health system, they're bringing in revenue to that health system, reimbursements from Medicare, Medicaid, depending on the patient's payer, or private insurer, right? But that's the revenue that's coming into the health system. And if they're employed, your champion is an employed member of a health system, their salary is often paid by the reimbursements that would normally just come to them if they were an independent physician. But that's neither here. That's a little bit far afield. Let's just talk about why your champion today is more of a rounding error. Well, if you look on the screen, I've posted the daily average revenue of the 11 largest health systems by revenue in the United States. Kaiser Permanente is the largest. They average around $274 million in incoming money revenue a day, spread out over 40 hospitals and something like 800 clinics. So let's say your clinical champion is a big, busy surgeon, right? And let's say that surgeon brings in 20 million. They're barely an eighth. Actually, technically, they're barely 7 to 8% of the daily revenue coming into that hospital. Their entire year's worth of revenue, of value coming in. So let's do that again. $20 million of revenue annually for this doctor coming to the hospital where he or she operates. That health system that owns that hospital is doing, the large one, Kaiser Permanente, is doing $273 million a day. So when I say your champ is a rounding error, this is the most extreme version. Kaiser's the largest by revenue in the country. But your average facility is $3 billion a year. And if your clinician brings in $20 million there, it's a higher ratio, but it's still not as important as it was back 15 years ago. And let's go back to 2009. I had been in med device now at this point for 4 years. And here's what it looked like. Orthopedic, spine, neurosurgeon. Still, to an extent, the cardiac surgeons were big hitters. Big hitters. The revenue that they brought in to the local hospital, which I always jokingly call Our Lady of No Air Conditioning Medical Center, was probably around 15 to 20 million. And those facilities did somewhere between 200 million and 300 million a year in annual revenue. So when that surgeon rolled in, he or she was 10% to 8% of their total annual revenue. They're very important. They would pull in the back at parking spaces behind a gate. And they parked and walked in. And when they wanted something, an implant, another room, an assist, a first assist, they tended to get it because they were so busy and they brought in so much revenue, right? Fast forward to now. I hope those doctors still have great parking. I know some of them still do, but they're not as important. They're a much smaller part of the revenue stream to the health system. And I can tell you, I can think of a couple of large health systems where the surgeons and doctors, and in some cases the nurses, feel like, hey, they don't really value what I do. Their sort of attitude comes across as, the health system's attitude comes across as, if they don't like what I'm doing, me, the surgeon or doctor, they'll just go make more. They'll just go find some more. I'm expendable. And that's a whole different discussion. But when your business model, your sales strategy, or your go-to-market plan is reliant on my KOLs will love my product for the clinical reasons, and they will drive approval in health systems, it's not sustainable. It's less and less effective and less likely every single day that goes by. And by the way, while you were listening to this, Kaiser Permanente probably made another $500,000 in revenue just while you were listening to this. That's why your champions feel less persuasive and are less persuasive. I'm Mark Copeland. I'm the Value Analysis Whisperer. I help companies get their products approved. And this has been Sutures and Cents.